Gideon is a ranged caster that picks off targets from afar, but also is a big damage dealer in the team fights, someone who I consider as some sort of an assassin on the battlefield. His affinities are corruption and intellect. Today we're going to look into his base stats, how to play him, and my general overview of this hero in the current meta. So if you like this video, subscribing and checking out my other guys, like the gadget one I did a few days back, is much appreciated. His base stats are shown on screen now. His overall stats seem the same for all casters, health capped at 1444, and I would only go to about 2000 health and focus the rest on damage and mana. Speaking about mana, it scales very well on Gideon, gaining 68 per each hero level. I would only be a bit more mana to his already meaty 1200 of it. Cards like Ant Crystal are great for this. Mana regen again, I would add a bit of this with certain cards that focus on adding power, but with upgrading bonuses that add mana regen. Ability and basic armor scale differently now. I don't really add any more onto Gideon, he has a great escape, so it shouldn't be in the front lines of the fight anyway, only when he's using his ult. But now let's look at his abilities. Burden is an ability when you attach to an opponent for 3 seconds. If you don't lose sight of them or step out the range, it stays intact. It does 4 ticks of damage, which isn't really too much, and at maxed out it does 59 damage, but it reduces movement speed by a significant amount, 300 at level 4, which is really noticeable. Best time to use it is before ulting, so they have an extra slow so they stay in your ult for longer, or to catch an enemy up to finish a kill off. Not the best for harassing, saying that it does have a low mana cost anyway. Cosmic Rift is your big damage dealer, a pretty much instant rock falls from the sky dealing considerable amounts of damage. The radius is rather small compared to something like Gadget's Sticky Mine, so you have to be accurate on enemy heroes while clearing waves. It's a fantastic part of his kit. Mana cost is pretty high, but it does 280 damage at level 4, so you can see why. Torn Space is basically Gideon's own Blink Charm, costing 55 mana, but each level increases its range. With Monolith having a lot more verticality, it's fantastic to escape to death or get into the perfect spot to use your ult. You want to jump when using it to cover as much distance as possible. With all this talk about Gideon's ult, let's break it down for you. His ult when used deals damage over time to anyone unfortunate enough to be in it. It does 8 ticks of damage over 3.5 seconds, 700 damage when at level 3. It even adds a pulling factor into the middle of the ult, so if you get it right, an enemy won't be able to get out of it unless they have an escape themselves. A lot of abilities however counter this well, all stuns get him out of his ult. The mana cost is a lot at 225, so you want to make sure you have the mana to go in and out, or you're going to look pretty stupid. Now let's look at the early game. As always, you want to stay in your lane and farm. You want to focus on upgrading your Cosmic Rift the most. You do want to unlock Torn Space very quickly too. It gives you so much options, especially escaping from an early gank. Your Rift isn't as good to poke your opponent laner compared to Gadget's Sticky Mine and Harry's Rocket, so use it carefully. You don't want to run out of mana just trying to hurt your opponent. It's your only wave clear after all, so I mostly save it for that for the early game in case I need it. Once your ult is in line, you should feel very dangerous to be able to gank lanes. As long as your lane is in check, jumping out of nowhere and doing ult, and that does so much damage in the early game, if you have your team to back you up, should be easy kills. With most casters, I do balance the early game out, focusing on damage, health and mana, and Crystal and Sage Wards are my preferred options. When the mid game comes, a single Cosmic Rift should be able to start clearing lanes by itself, so it's your main job to help other lanes out if someone is struggling, especially the off lane. Now I do also like to build Teleblink into my Gideon builds. The reason why is I play him as some sort of assassin, as I said earlier. Using Teleblink is a blink charm which consumes 75 mana and a 15-second cooldown and can't be used after being hit for 5 seconds, so it makes me able to get into a team fight ult and use my Torn Space to get the hell out of there before I get torn to shreds, using my Cosmic Rift to finish foes off from afar. Having this double blink charm means you can move around the map so quickly. This really is what the later game is as well, keeping enemies low and under threat from a distance, so when the time comes you use your ult, you will get the kills. Now the difference between a good and a bad Gideon player is knowing when to use your ult. A team fight may be happening and a bad Gideon player will just panic and just basically ult, waiting just for the right time. If the enemy has used any counter to your ult or have just overextended into a tower with so much going on, for a sudden Gideon to come out of nowhere and ult is pretty much a team wipe. Gideon isn't as much about keeping an eye on your mana and spamming your abilities like a gadget, more waiting for the right time to strike. So my overall opinion on Gideon is that he is so much fun to play, especially with a blink charm. You're so mobile. His ult is in a really good spot as it feels like he got a bit of a buff with not having as many counters. But do remember, you are very weak, so get in, deal the damage and get out as soon as possible. Then you can help finish opponents off from afar. I will be also doing a deck guide hopefully in the next few days on Gideon, if not after Christmas. So definitely check that out and subscribe to that. As I also said, I also have a gadget guide and a deck coming up, and also how to mid lane guide also, and many more coming up in the new year. But anyway guys, I hope you have a good one and a good Christmas especially. See you next time.